We're back to the Neil Haley Show, and I am excited about our guest today, author Paul Shemella. He Into the Mist, an Alzheimer's journey, and I talk about Into the Mist. You mean it, Paul. Paul, thanks for stopping
Yeah.
by. Because here's a question. I'm going to even go before background. What is the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia?
Dementia is an umbrella term like cancer, and there are literally 100 different forms of dementia, but there are four that are quite common. Alzheimer's is the most common.
Oh, and that's one I always heard before we started using the word dementia in certain ways.
Yeah,
It
well,
kind of, yeah.
I tend to use the word dementia because only 70% of it is Alzheimer's, and the other forms are really quite different and require different protocols. But in the end, it's all the same. Patients
Exactly.
become uh, uh, like my wife is now, where
Mm.
they can't speak and they can't walk and they can smile or have temper tantrums. And I'm lucky enough to be one of the caregivers whose loved one smiles.
Oh my goodness. See, and this is the thing that I hear from you is that, and that's where definitely we got to get into the story. But I have so many questions because I'm sure you've done a lot of research from once your wife got diagnosed. But let's kind of just dive into some questions. So,
Sure.
can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, yeah, I normally introduce myself when I speak publicly using four words: SEAL, lecturer, writer, and caregiver. Um, and I think the first three of those prepared me to be a caregiver, although it took a number of years until I learned enough about dementia and Alzheimer's. I started off knowing nothing. In fact, um, I never considered that what was happening to Lena was Alzheimer's because she lived in a way that should prevent this, but it didn't. So there's a lot that we don't know, and even the medical community is baffled by a lot of this. Uh, although there is some great research taking place, and we're making progress. I'm just trying to help others who become caregivers um, to deal with it more effectively than I did. I call it my ministry.
Yeah, because you think about it, once you become a caregiver, it is such a challenge. It's like you're going back to parenting all over again in so many
Yeah,
aspects. And the problem is it's two steps backwards, not
right.
forwards.
Yeah, well, they as they decline mentally, they're declining in terms of mental capacity. And I didn't understand that at first. I was trying to treat my life like the adult and professional she's always been, but I didn't realize that she was a kid, and now she's a baby. She has the brain of a baby,
Oh.
uh, but it's a very sweet baby, and I cherish my time with her. But you learn that you can't do it alone, and I ended up putting her in memory care 3 years ago, and I felt terrible about it, but I'm glad I did because she's better off, and I'm better off.
And you learn from that process. You learn that, okay, I can't do this. And I'm sure this is part of your story to
Yeah.
talk about. And I don't want to steal any thunder. We'll kind of get into it. So, why
Okay.
did you write the book? But I can just tell you're passionate about this because of what you went through. And you want to help others
Yeah.
pretty much go through this, to be able to go through this journey a little bit better than you in a way, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it would be hard to make more mistakes than I made. Uh, and I'm just trying to alert people that um, there's certain things that you should do. One is to read as much as possible. Another is to talk as much as possible, and reach out to people and strengthen your social network. But I wrote the book because I wanted to also to document briefly my wife's interesting and meaningful life, and then I just wanted to spread the word as far as I could to help people deal with this. There is a discussion of lessons learned and best practices in the appendix, and people tell me that the appendix is really very valuable. I've had lots of testimony, so I know that I'm helping people. I just want to help more people.
And helping more people, that is the biggest challenge. Getting it to the right people, letting them know this, because I don't think we're talking about this enough, Paul. We don't look at this disease as something as to combat as much as we talk about cancer, but it's
Right.
debilitating for the loved ones around, because it's not just the sudden, or the death is not, it's a slow grind. And there's ways we
Yeah.
can really kind of slow down this process, that it's not being invested enough into and really looked at enough.
Yeah. It's every case is different, which makes it even harder to deal with. Normally, the middle stage of Alzheimer's is the long one, and then the final stage is short. But in my wife's case, the middle stage was really fast, and the end stage is proving to be prolonged. We thought that she was going to pass away a year and a half ago. We put her on hospice, and she's still here, and she smiles every day. So I'm just grateful for the extra time. But you're right, we haven't paid enough attention to this. I had an article published in Newsweek actually just today.
Oh,
Um,
congratulations.
Thank you on this very aspect. You know that we haven't paid enough attention to it, and we're not ready for it. There's a tsunami coming, and the American healthcare system isn't prepared to deal with what
See,
we
and I
have
honestly
now.
think there's an economic reason why.
Yeah,
I think that the probably a lot of the older adult homes
yeah,
want this because it's more business for them. It's one of the biggest booming businesses,
yeah.
and we
Well,
have to really look at that. Go ahead.
yeah, that's certainly part of it. I mean, you always have to follow the money. But I think there is also a real lack of understanding and just plain knowledge within the medical community at large. Uh, Even neurologists don't know everything about dementia. We're all sort of treading new ground. And although there's a lot more money being dedicated to research, and some of the treatments that are now being developed actually have shown to be uh, marginally effective in slowing it down. But the biggest thing to know is that up to 45% of dementia cases can be prevented with lifestyle changes.
Wow.
And that would be,
That's what I
uh,
was talking about before we got on in the green room. That's
yeah,
so important. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's diet, exercise, especially exercise, uh, um, sleep, and um,
Diet,
I'm
exercise, and also keep your brain trained.
yeah, right,
Like
and
you like to do certain things. Don't go and shrivel up and die once you retire.
right, right. It's social connections is the other one of the big four. But yeah, games and just reading and talking to people, being intellectually curious really helps. It, I mean, that 45% is a pretty big number. I mean, if you do all the right things, um, you can probably avoid this. But you know, if you've like you and I have taken blows on the head most of our lives, that puts you, you know, in a different category.
Truly, you truly do. And I don't want to talk about that, but I understand, at least I understand that.
Yeah,
But I think that that's the thing. We watch out for pain in our body, but we don't watch out for signs in our brain. And this is the direction you wrote the Newsweek
yeah,
article, and you look at the specific things.
yeah.
We are not, we just say when we get old, and I can't believe I'm putting myself in that category. At 53, I am getting older. That when I forget things, which I don't, thank goodness,
Yeah.
I forget people's names, but that's just because I interview too many people. I know too many people.
Oh yeah.
I know, I know that's the reason. But when I forget, we start to forget, we laugh about, oh, that's just part of getting old. Instead
Yeah.
of, oh, we might be
Yeah.
in that category. And there's not a large, it's not a huge percentage of the population either, Paul,
Yeah.
that there are people that are doing the right things that aren't ever going to have dementia or Alzheimer's.
That's right. And it's okay to forget names and even other things. But when it becomes a pattern, when you start losing things like your wallet, yeah, then it becomes something that's life-changing. And my problem is that when Lena started losing things, it didn't click in my head that this was a sign of dementia.
Oh no.
It,
That
it, we,
that's that that's a sad part of it is you
yeah,
didn't.
yeah,
Because you're used to looking at people when they age, this is part of their thing.
right,
Because here's the other problem. A lot of people died younger. So
yeah,
we have not done the research that we're going to be living longer lives. COVID did shut that down, but if you look at a married couple, their average age is 95. It's not
yeah,
like you have 10 years after your retirement and then you die.
right,
That was 30 years ago. It's not
yeah,
anymore.
yeah, yeah, and we're living longer, and a lot of us aren't taking care of ourselves.
No, they're
Drinking too much, smoking, not exercising. I mean, like it or not, Americans tend to be, uh, you know, more interested in having fun than taking care of themselves. And you can have both, but I, um, I have always exercised and I will continue to exercise. But the, the strange thing for me was that my wife also exercised. I mean, she used to go to the gym with me. She went to the pool with me. She did everything right. Uh, so there is an element of luck here. Um, she uh, she may have been genetically predisposed, but we'll never know because her father was killed when she was a baby. So
oh,
um,
mhm.
yeah, I mean, she has a really interesting story, and I
That's part of
am
your book, right? The stories in the
yes,
book. Okay.
yeah, and I did it briefly. It's a short book. I wanted people to not be intimidated by the size of the book, so it can be read in a couple of days. But yeah, I mean, we don't have all the answers, and we probably won't have all the answers for a long time. But we are making progress, and I think there are lots of organizations and research facilities and hospitals out there that are, doing a great job.
No, absolutely. And I think that we have to go in this direction in so many ways. And if we don't, Paul, it's going to be a detriment to really figuring out how we can combat this. How has the book been received? I mean, congratulations again on that Newsweek article. I think that you're really getting your brand out there, and congratulations to be on my show and how your team
Yeah,
was able to get on.
huh,
And especially, it was perfect timing
yeah,
because I'm really intrigued about what's happening. Our listeners and viewers are really intrigued about what's happening. But how has your book been received?
pretty well. I've received quite a few testimonials, and the book has helped them a lot. And I'm giving away as many copies as I can, just because I'm not trying to make money. I'm trying to spread the word. If I do make money on the book, it goes directly to the foundation that my sister and I set up to give away Lena's savings. So that's been a satisfying venture as well. But I'm always trying to expand readership, and I think this is certainly a great way to do that. And I'm just very grateful to be able to talk to you.
Exactly. And I think that just the contacts, ultimately, we have to do more research. We have to look at the specifically what's happening. Can you summarize the story without giving anything away? Because I don't want to, because I think that you're a wealth of knowledge. People have to pick up the book because of that reason, but
Yeah.
kind of the premise without giving a lot away.
Yeah, well, the shortest summary is in the title. Into the Mist, an Alzheimer's Journey. It's a brief chronicle of her beginnings and mine, and there's only enough detail to let the reader understand her decline and my struggle to do something about it, to be a caregiver. But the 1 minute version is pretty interesting. I mean, she was born in Germany. She was bombed as a 2-year-old, uh, and in a farming village where she and her mother had evacuated, but the bombs found her anyway. So she was not physically harmed, but she carried the image and the sound of that bombing. Um, for the rest of her life. In fact, I'm convinced she had PTSD. The problem with that is it wasn't a thing until recently, and she would never submit to treatment for that.
Oh.
She was very, very independent, very self-reliant, very tough in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
And she sought counseling at even before she met me for the war and after the war when they almost starved. But she gave up pretty quickly because she didn't think that counseling was helping. So that
Isn't
was
that
kind
that's
of,
another too bad thing is a lot of people who suffer from PTSD or go back into family trauma.
yeah,
Talk therapy doesn't always fix the problem.
right.
It's
Yeah,
how do you deal with how you control yourself through your daily aspects. I want people to research this more. Sometimes talk therapy for someone who's such a traumatic thing to even bring it back where they go back 20
yeah,
steps, they have to figure out better ways with PTSD.
yeah. No, they do. And I I'm pretty sure that the PTSD had something to do with her dementia. Uh, there hasn't been enough research on that, as you say, but anything that shakes up the brain that much at an early age or any age
Yeah.
uh, can lead just like a blow to the head or any number of other things can lead the brain on the path to dementia. But they're developing drugs that can help prevent it or slow it down, and they're really starting to understand what is going on in the brain. Up to now, the only way to tell if someone has Alzheimer's is to wait until they die and do an autopsy. But pretty soon, they'll be able. They're almost there with a blood
Good.
test and PET scan. They can tell pretty sure, whether someone has Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. The other three, by the way, are vascular, Lewy body, and frontotemporal. Frontotemporal is what Bruce Willis has.
Hmm.
And that is sort of a little bit more different than the others. And it's also very difficult to deal with.
I mean,
Um,
it's amazing, at least the publicity that Bruce is giving with this disease and
yeah,
how he's still here. And
yeah,
that's the question. How long do people live with dementia or Alzheimer's?
yeah.
Depend.
Well, it depends on a lot of things. Statistically, for someone my wife's age, you say she developed it in her mid to late 70s.
Okay.
5 to 8 years is normally what what's uh,
Mhm.
what's been observed, but it could be a lot longer than that, or it could be a lot shorter than that. It's really unpredictable, and that uncertainty is a very, very hard thing for caregivers to live with. Um, the
100%.
the dementia patients, though, are protected in some ways by the disease itself. This is certainly true of Alzheimer's. Um, my wife has never acknowledged being sick at all. I mean, she very quickly in the beginning stages just kept denying that there was anything wrong, and we had a lot of conflict in our marriage about that. And I was totally unprepared. But pretty soon, the disease overwhelmed her awareness, and she didn't understand what was happening anyway. And it's still the case. I mean, she's pretty happy in her little Alzheimer's bubble. She's not suffering. She's not in pain. She's pretty near the end of her life, but she doesn't even know it.
Right.
So that's a blessing. I don't mind doing the suffering for her. Um,
You're doing the
that's,
suffering. You're definitely doing the suffering in so many
yeah,
ways.
yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of, I summarize our beginnings, and then I talk about, you know, how I noticed her decline and what we did about it, and a very difficult ordeal with hospitals here who didn't understand dementia.
Hmm.
Um, and it's an uplifting book. I tried to make it a love story, and a lot of people have agreed with me on that. It it makes a lot of people cry, but it ends with a little bit of spiritual um, observation and belief. And I say that, if you are called to be a caregiver, you should consider it an honor. I mean, there's nothing more satisfying than accompanying or escorting somebody into the next life. Um, I can't think of anything, more important than that.
Paul, again, you're a definite champion in so many ways. You talked about it. So, how's your wife's condition now? Because again, she's still alive.
Yeah.
How's her condition?
Well, she's in a wheelchair. Uh, she can smile and she can eat what I feed her, and that's about it. Um, but she smiles every day. And so I live from one smile to the next. And she's incredibly resilient in that way. She's at the very, very, bottom level of Alzheimer's, and she has almost no quality of life. But she obviously, if she doesn't know who I am, she knows I'm the guy who comes every day and makes her laugh. And that makes me feel good. And when she stops smiling and stops eating, then I'll know that the end is pretty soon.
Right.
But she she's obviously aware of some of the things that are going on. She
Mhm.
can't speak, so I don't
Do
know.
you see progress being made with the changes, especially with the memory care, that you start seeing at least some steps forward sometimes?
No. What happens is they go up and down. Some days they're more alert, other days they're more zombie-ish. Um, but I have to say that she wouldn't be alive now if she weren't in memory care. I couldn't possibly take care of her by myself. It was she
Sure.
wouldn't take any medication. She was, I would go to there's a gym across the hall from me in my apartment building, and I would go over there and work out, and she'd either go out in the parking lot and walk around, or she'd come in the gym every 5 minutes. She had no idea where she was.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
but now she's happy, healthy, and safe, and she's surrounded by love. And love is really the best thing that a caregiver can bring.
I think so.
Uh, my sister and I go every day at different times, and the caregivers are great. They not only give her care, they sit with
Mhm.
her and they talk to her and they make her laugh, and
How
it's great.
draining is it on you, even to go
Uh, it,
visit?
yeah, well, in the beginning, it was very hard because she did not want to be there. She was still aware enough to know that she was not with me. And every time I visited, she tried to follow me out the door.
Oh my gosh.
And, a caregiver would take her, and put her arm around her and walk her away from the door
Mm.
and say, look, he loves you, Paul's coming back.
I feel bad for you. I feel that you're going through this. And I think that's
Yeah.
where your passion is. How can you help other people? Now, do you feel if you would have caught this earlier from your wife, could it have stopped? Could you have slowed down the process?
I might have been able to slow it down a little bit, but I couldn't have stopped it. Uh,
We're seeing now research that some of this can be stopped
um,
or paused.
it
Not the
can be,
medication, not the medication. I don't believe in
yeah,
that. Again, I'm a big
yeah,
fan of Dave Asprey. I don't know if you've ever listened to his podcast. It's really a good podcast.
okay,
He's a biohacker that
okay,
created bulletproof coffee, and he talked about.
okay.
Are you familiar with him?
No, I'm not, but I'll check it out.
Yeah, so Dave basically talked about there's a guy that wrote a book, and I've had him on my show, and it'll come to me in a second in his brain. But basically, about processed foods, brain grain,
Yeah,
and it came
yeah,
out years before. He was on Asprey's podcast, and he talked about one of the biggest things that we kill ourselves is eating processed foods. That's one of the
yeah,
biggest, like having extra potato chips every day is going to lead to dementia.
yeah.
Study.
It's a big deal. The there's all kinds of chemicals in our food that if they get through the blood-brain barrier, they can cause the kinds of things that happen to the tau tangles and the amyloid clumps and whatever else is going on. But on the good side, there are some indications that some of the things that we see already can slow it down or prevent it. Shingles vaccine, for instance. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, because inflammation, it turns out, of the brain uh, is a real enabler of dementia.
Mm.
So any vaccine that reduces inflammation is going to have an effect. They're looking at lithium and all kinds of formerly off the wall
Yeah.
remedies that that may turn out to be really important. But I think it's going to be there's so many different variations of this that when they do have a cure, it's going to be one at a time. That one
Yeah.
variant
Yeah.
of dementia can be prevented or stopped by this protocol, but all the other ones, like with cancer, all the other ones, we're still working on it.
Well, okay, Paul. You've answered a lot of questions throughout in this process. What you've learned, sharing your knowledge, all those different things. If you had something that you want to tell listeners and viewers right now, what would that be regarding dementia, Alzheimer's? What should we do?
Uh, I would say that as we get older, we need to look for signs of dementia. With all this knowledge that we now have access to, um, it's easier than it used to be, even 5 years ago, to to be uh, aware enough of someone's behavior that you could recommend that they see a neurologist.
Yes.
Early diagnosis is really important because the monoclonal antibodies that they've come up with in the last couple of years do seem to slow it down, but only if it's administered very soon after it's clear that there's dementia going on. So,
What is the percentage of people that get dementia right now?
well, for the latest statistic that I saw is one of three adults who get old enough will die from dementia.
Mm.
That's not a really uh, I mean that's not a very specific number, but
Mm.
for age 55 and over,
Hmm.
uh, you have a lifetime probability of 42%.
Mm. Okay.
So, if you're 75 like I am, it's time to really take corrective actions if you need to, or preventive actions certainly. But if you get to be 85, then you've got about a 1 in 2 chance, about 50% that
Wow.
you're going to get it. But if they can slow it down and you get it at 85, then it's not so bad. I
So
mean,
so do you have a checklist that you know? Because I did it with AI, asking questions
yeah,
regarding what checklist. Is there a checklist you have on our website or any other place for resources for people that are considering they think they're leading to dementia? Because I think we have to be our own healthcare advocates at the end of the day.
we do.
Because they say it's going to happen. Too bad.
Yeah,
That's pretty much what the doctors say. So we
right.
have to be our own advocates.
Yeah. There are lots of checklists. I don't have one in front of me, but I think the first thing that you should do if you think you're getting it is to rule out something called pseudodementia. There are a lot of conditions that mimic dementia, and you can think that you have it when you actually don't have it. You have a vitamin B12 deficiency
Mm.
or severe depression. I mean, there are lots of conditions and medications that you can that you can experiment with under the supervision of a doctor, even a GP. And so, if you rule out that, um, then the next step is to go see a neurologist. and the sooner you can do that, the better. It took me a couple of years uh, from the time I was pretty sure I knew what was going on until I could drag her to a neurologist. Lena just did not want to go, and uh, I think that's fairly typical. If I had it to do over again, I would physically carry her into the neurologist
Oh,
office, whether she liked it or not. Um, but
oh,
there are compliant patients and non-compliant, and my wife was certainly one of the non-compliant. But the other thing I tell people, and this sounds it sounds a little bit um, counterintuitive, but it's not all bad. Uh, there are moments of joy throughout the process. Like I said, I live from smile to smile.
yeah.
Um, Even when someone's in the middle stage of dementia, they can be very sociable and they can express themselves fairly clearly. Um, so you don't necessarily go from being normal to sitting in a wheelchair without being able to speak in a short period of time. So the advice that I give people is enjoy every day and take nothing for granted. If your loved one is exhibiting signs of MCI, what they call mild
Mhm.
cognitive impairment, that doesn't mean they're going to get full-blown dementia, but there should be steps that you're taking to slow it down, and uh, and you should continue to live. Uh, there's joy to be found, um, and you just need to live from one moment of joy to the next.
Okay. Well, we really appreciate you coming on. Best place people can find information on you, Paul.
Uh, well, I I have a Facebook account. I have a LinkedIn account. Um,
So go to
and
Paul Shemella on Facebook and LinkedIn. You have a
yeah,
website for your book?
I also have a Substack.
Okay.
And that's let's see, Paul Shemella at substack.com. Um, the other place to look for me is I have a website that I haven't used very much. But that doesn't that website doesn't display the memoir. It displays thriller novels that I wrote
Mhm.
before my wife got sick. So that's not really very useful in this case. Um, if you go to Amazon and type my name in, all the books come up.
Okay.
The memoir, the novels, and I've written some academic books when I was teaching.
All right.
Um, but yeah, I'll talk to anybody. I,
Well,
I I
we
talk to
appreciate
people all the
Paul.
time.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. Thanks again, Paul. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You're awesome. You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show.